Cascado's Filmmaking Studio presents Wholehearted Marketing!
Hi, welcome everyone to our next Q&A. Today we have the lovely Anne George, who is going to talk to us all about doing your own copywriting. This can always be really tricky, and we'll definitely get into that. So, Anne, if you'd like to tell us a little bit more about you and why you do what you do, we'd love to hear more about it.
Sure. Well, yes. Hello, everybody. My name's Anne George. I've been writing basically for as long as I can remember. It's probably one of my earliest memories is of writing and just loving anything to do with words. So it seemed fairly fitting that I ended up going in that direction. In my previous life before my current business, I worked in publicity, in retail, I worked in PR, I did marketing comms for a financial institution, but I always really wanted to concentrate on copywriting. So when it got to the point where I felt I could do that, I went in part-time and started my business. Ended up doing it a little bit more full-time when I had children, and I've been now operating a web for 13 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It seems a long time now.
Yeah.
And I've only been in Melbourne for nearly 3 years. Prior to that, I was based in Adelaide. So I'm feeling a little bit more like a Melbourne girl now.
Yeah. All right. So talking today, I love the fact that when we put the questions up, we ended up with exactly the problem that we have when we're copywriting. We had a blank page. There were no questions. I'm like going, is everyone really scared of this, or they just don't care? But I think it's because they're really scared of asking questions because, don't want to seem to not know what you're on about when it comes to something as basic as writing, because we kind of all think we can do it, but we kind of get stuck.
Yes, we often end up with a blank page. So what I wanted to talk about today were blank page busters. So
yes.
that might be hopefully that will be helpful for people.
Look, I think it would be very helpful. And I know that even from my own experience, I've done a lot of copywriting for myself in the last 12, 18 months. And yeah, there are definitely days when you're just staring at that blank page going, what happens next? I don't even know where I want to start, what I want to say. Are people going to be interested in my story? Any of those things. So perhaps if you can give us a good few tips on how we can bust the blank page.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think the first thing, and it seems like a really normal thing to do, but we often don't do it, is to basically plan what you're going to say. What are you going to write about, and who are you going to write to? And they seem like really basic tips, but I think a lot of people might sit down and just sit at the page and think, oh, the inspiration is going to come. And it doesn't, because we haven't worked out where we're going to start. It's like getting up in the morning and just launching into the day without having any idea what you're going to do. So I do that with everything. I'll sit and have a good think about what is it that I want to write about. And this applies for anything, whether it's for your website or a letter or a blog post or even an email, really. Plan it out before you start. I think that's number one.
Cool. Anything else?
Well, leading on from there, the next thing I would be doing is thinking who we are writing to. This is a trick that I learned a very long time ago when I was actually working in a marketing comms position. My manager very kindly sent me off to do a direct mail writing course, and it had a massive impact on me because it was the first time I'd actually really thought about this method of writing, which is basically when you're thinking about what you're writing, you need to think about the person you're writing to, but not just the group of people, but find someone in your life that you are writing to. Now, this isn't something that everyone would do, but I do a lot of direct mail writing, a lot of fundraising direct mail writing. So when I'm writing those letters, I picture in my head my mother. And the reason I do that,
target market for these.
You use the target market. Now, so someone, you might think you're writing to your best friend, or you're writing to someone you met at a party, or whatever it is. But if you picture their face and their voice when you're writing, you are talking to them, and that's what the writing is all about. So when I'm writing my letter, I'm actually selling whatever I'm selling it to my mum, and I know that I know how to write to her because she's very sympathetic and she's very empathetic and she cares about what I'm writing about. So that's really the key to this. If you could get in your head the person you're writing to and write as if you're speaking to them in a very natural way, the words will come a lot easier. That's what I would recommend. That's what I find.
And that's what I highly recommend that everybody, like the second thing they do after they've worked out why they're doing what they're doing, is to actually create this ideal customer profile. And I like the idea of basing it on a real person just for that reason, so that you can picture them. I mean, I've actually had, when I was doing some writing for the course videos that didn't end up eventuating very well, I actually wanted to put photos of a couple of my members up so I could go, right, this is who I'm talking to, so that you actually really get that connection going. And I do know of people who do that when they're writing. They actually pop a photo on their desk of that person so they can really get that interaction going. So that's a fantastic point.
Very, very effective. And I've been using it for years. So, I believe it works. Yeah.
Cool.
Another thing, and this is very basic, but these days we have so many distractions in our life and we know that. So really, I believe one of the keys to success is to minimize your distractions. So we read about it all the time if we read blog articles or they say, turn off your emails, turn off your phone, remove your phone from the room.
Yes.
And if possible, remove small children and dogs. Those sort of things, because if you have someone around, you just can't focus, and you do need to have some clear headspace to write. I believe. It's very helpful to know that, and if you've got those dings and buzzers and whatever going on, you just know if you start getting a stream of thought going, it's gone the minute something pings at you.
I mean, I can't even write with music with lyrics on it. So
I'm saying, because I want to sing.
Yeah.
Particularly if it's a song I like. Who wants to write when you sing?
So definitely, okay, yes, no distractions, focus, turn everything out. Do you have any good tips for, other than turning the email off and whatever, actually, getting yourself back on track if you do get distracted?
Well, I think that there are a lot of programs, there are software programs you can use to actually block your use of things. If you find that you are continually distracted because of what you're doing, that you're writing and you're not feeling comfortable about it, there are programs you can use. The names of them escape me at the moment because I don't actually use them, but I have heard they're very successful. I think really that leads on to the next tip that I would like to share, and this is something that I've only really, I guess, been doing myself in the last few years. To beat procrastination, the best thing to do is to just start anywhere. So in my mind, that basically means the first thing that comes into your head. I do this all the time, particularly when I'm starting something that's going to be quite long and complex. The first thing that comes into my head, just write it down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be spelt correctly. There's no grammar, whatever. Just start writing little points down. And then the more you write, the more you'll see the formation of what you're doing. You might move the points around. You might expand on something. But the minute you've done that, you've busted your blank page. And that's the whole idea, to get started with your writing. So I really think it is a really good method to use. The other thing when you're doing writing is to don't labour over it for ages. I hear when I talk to people about writing, they say, oh, God, it takes me hours. I just sit there for hours. And then they get really stressed and frustrated because the words just aren't coming. So best thing to do is just walk away. I always work in short bursts, because if you want to get some decent words down on paper, once you've minimised your distractions and done all of those sort of things, we really physically can only work with great concentration for short periods of time. There's a theory called the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I have heard of it, yeah.
Now, I discovered this through Flying Solo, actually, one of my favourite websites, quite some time ago, where basically the Pomodoro technique, and the guy's name escapes me now, but he's Italian, and the reason it's called Pomodoro is he used a timer in the shape of a tomato.
That's right, yeah.
But basically, he did some kind of research that showed that the human brain, your regular human brain, can actually only concentrate effectively and produce a really good amount of work for 25 minutes. So he developed this theory that you set a timer, you work for 25 minutes, the timer goes off, and you take a break and you walk away. Now, you can actually get this timer on your phone. I use it all the time. It's called and you just set it at 25 minutes and away you go. If you notice in the middle of that some bright shiny object comes past and you think, oh, gee, must do that. Forgot to get that at the shops. Stop the timer straight away.
Okay.
Write down whatever it is that came into your head and then start again, because that time is not effective. So the 25 minutes is a really good way to work. The other way to work is to do 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't have a 15-minute timer, but you can just whatever time you like. Just do 15 minutes. At the end of 15 minutes, no matter where you are, just stop. Get up, walk away, and then come back, because then you'll get some quality time in.
Yeah, I always believe in having that sort of white space time as well, where you just, sometimes you just need to go and do something else when you're stuck on something. And, no matter what creative pursuit you're doing, you need to just take that time out. I'll just go and hang a load of washing or something.
Exactly. That's what I normally do, hang washing. Or put washing on. Because my laundry.
I'll grab a cup of tea or something. And you don't want to be using grabbing a cup of tea as a procrastination tool. But, sometimes you just need that space.
It's actually more healthy for us also to actually get up and move around. And that's another whole topic you might want to talk about at some point, about the dangers of sitting. I've got this great reading about the dangers of sitting. I should send it to you.
Do you use a standing desk?
I don't have a standing desk, but I should get one. Actually. Should get one. So yes, writing in short bursts, very important.
Okay. Cool.
Another tip, and this seems like a really obvious one, but we don't all do it. And that's when you're doing your writing, when you've finished your piece and you're pretty happy with it, run a spell check over it, because you'll find all sorts of things that you didn't know were there. And we get very close when we're writing something and we really care about it and we're really into it. We miss things. Everyone does it. So
absolutely.
Just basic spell check, really good idea.
Yeah.
And as far as at the end of it, I before I started working on my own, I always had someone to say, hey, can you give this a read?
Yeah.
Just give me your opinion. But when I started working on my own, I had no one to send it to. And sometimes that stresses you out more, because you think, oh my God, I hope it's okay. When you're working alone, as you would know, Kath, sometimes you have to trust your gut and know that it's okay. But
I usually find out because my mum will read my blog posts, and she is the ultimate spelling grammar Nazi. So I'll find out pretty quickly.
Yes, and that's great. And if you don't mind people seeing it after you've written it, then But the other thing you can do is find a trusted friend that will have some constructive criticism, not someone that's going to go hammer and tongs at it and make you think, oh, why did I bother? We need someone who's a good friend and who can say, maybe you could think about doing it this way. And that is a really good practice with anything you write, because we do become very close to things. We miss things, and we might labour on a point for too long. We might think that, that's really the way it ought to be. When someone will say, you could probably say it a little bit shorter, maybe take some words out here or there.
Yeah.
And I find that's really good to get another perspective, someone that's preferably the person you're writing to. Your best friend, pretend it to the person to read it, and that can be a really good thing to do. It's also a good way at that point to make sure that what you've written is really relevant, because at the stage when you're planning your content or planning whatever it is you're writing, it's a good idea to think about, is this something that some people are going to find useful? Is it something people are going to find really relevant? And that's a great way to begin whatever it is that you're writing, and making sure that it's also written in your voice, not the person that you think it ought to be written from.
Yeah.
These days, the word authenticity is thrown around a lot. In fact, you and I have had quite a few discussions about this. That basically, when you're writing, it's really important to not be someone else. Be who you are, because people, I think, will pick up on that if you're trying to write in someone else's voice. Finding your own voice, particularly when you're writing blogs and you're sharing information, is really important. And it will also mean that you're more relaxed with the style of writing. It's really good to have something that's more conversational. You're sharing information, not dictating. You're sharing and trying to actually communicate really effectively by being who you are.
And actually, while you've been talking about this idea of sharing the ideas with friends and getting your authentic voice, I just wanted to touch on this idea of writing stuff that's really close to you. I know that a lot of people, they might be able to write content about what they know or do or whatever, but when it actually comes to writing their personal profile or their about page or that sort of stuff, they get really stuck. And I like the idea of perhaps being able to workshop that or something. Do you have any ideas around that, that you can do that with somebody else, perhaps help each other out? Or
yeah, and look, this is a very common problem. I have a lot of problem writing about myself, and I think that, I don't know whether that's typical, and I don't want to say it's typical to women, but maybe it is something that we're just we don't like shining a light on ourselves when we actually should. And one of the things I do when I have to do something like that is I call a friend. I call someone that knows me really well, and I say, look, I have to write this. Can you have a read for me after I've done it? Or maybe I'll have a chat about it with them and say, what do you think? When you think about me as not just as a person, but as a business person, what are the things that jump out about you that you think are my best skills? Yeah. Now, that person will immediately come back and say, oh, you're fantastic at doing this, 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 and this. That gives you ideas. If you're stuck about writing about yourself, someone that's close to you that sees things that you don't see is a great resource for information. And yeah, I do it myself. I've just entered a awards program, and I had to talk to people about it before I started. I think it's important to get other people's opinions. Don't just rely on yourself, because you'll undersell. You'll undersell yourself.
Yeah, and I think that is the biggest danger, is you do, we're also scared of being tall poppies, that we just do undersell our skills and our knowledge, or we just get so close and bogged down in the details and you just can't actually sort of get that stuff out. I'd like to ask you one more thing before we sort of finish up, and that I know that one of the things that you really love doing is storytelling. Yes. How do you tell your own stories when you're writing, do you think?
Well, it's got to be from your own personal experience. It's got to be something that has impacted on you or on another person. Maybe they've said to you, I really loved the way you did that. You solved that problem for me, and it added value to my business. Yeah. It added value to me. And when you're telling stories like that, it's easy, because all you're doing is recounting the way that you have supported that person, helped that person, solved a problem, come up with a great idea. Yeah. If it's something that's close to you and that you really believe in, then it's easy to tell a story. And that is why I love storytelling, because I get to tell stories about that I'm really passionate about and things that make a difference. And if it's much easier to write when it's from the heart, or whether it's from, it's wholehearted, or whether it's from something that you've done yourself that you can reflect on, I think.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I mean, especially when you are doing things like case studies, or, just even writing your blog and being able to put a story into it, just does add that authenticity to it. So I think that authenticity is now a bad buzzword.
Well, I don't think it is.
No.
And also, don't be afraid to ask people for a testimonial. It doesn't have to be long. I do this a lot. I'll just say, look, would you mind giving me a paragraph just explaining how I helped you, what your impressions were about the solutions I came up for you, and you'll be surprised how people come back. Most people are very happy. If they're happy with what you've done, they're very happy to share their thoughts. And then when you're telling your story, you can actually write about it from your own perspective, and then drop your testimonial in there, a couple of quotes from the person, their actual words. That's really meaningful.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's so powerful. It's so much more powerful than you trying to put it out there as some kind of marketing copy or whatever, when you've actually got people in their own words saying how fantastic it is to work with you or how much they love your product. So
that's right.
All right, I think that's probably some awesome stuff today. We've had a few technical hitches. Hopefully it will all edit together beautifully. And yeah, thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for sharing your wonderful wisdom with us and experience, and we'll catch you up some other time.
Thank you, Kath. I've enjoyed our chat.
Bye.